Hey there, this is Erica from Ever Educating, and this channel is teaching tips, tools, ideas, and resources for new college instructors. In today's video, I want to discuss 3 ways that you can use scaffolding in your course design. And so scaffolding, if you're unfamiliar with the term, is basically how you build from one thing to another in your course, right? So a scaffold, you have here's the first thing, and then you build on top of that, build on top of that, and so on. Now, scaffolding can take on many forms, and I see it breaking down into 3 basic approaches. And so the first approach is you're scaffolding the product, the final product that they're submitting to you for assessment. And so maybe your course has 3 different units in it. Well, the first unit, maybe they're required to submit an outline. And then in the second unit, they're required to submit an annotated bibliography. And then in the third unit, they're required to submit their research paper, right? So here is a very basic scaffold of, okay, your final product is going to be a 15-page research paper that we're going to build, right? It's not just do 15 pages for Unit 1. No. Unit 1, we're going to focus on picking your topic, brainstorming ideas for your paper, looking out to see what research is out there, maybe interviewing people. And by the end, you're going to create an outline for what you think your paper is going to be like, by the end of this term. And then in the second unit, okay, you have your ideas. Let's see how viable they are. Go ahead and do some research, right? Do some more research. Pick which of the citations you likely will use in your paper. Do you want to do some primary research, or is it all secondary research? And at the end, submit an annotated bibliography that has maybe 5 or 7 sources on it. And then the final unit, okay, you have your research, you have your outline that you've probably tweaked after doing more research. Now you go ahead and write that paper, and that's what you submit at the end of the term. So this is product scaffolding. You have one thing that builds into another thing that builds into that final product. So that's one approach to scaffold in your classroom. But another approach might be a skills-based scaffold. So in this case, it's not that they're creating, outline, bib, and then paper. It's more, okay, you're gaining this skill, and once you practice it enough, we're going to build another skill on top of that. And once you practice that enough, you're going to build another skill on top of that. So perhaps you might have a visual rhetoric course. And so Unit 1, you're starting to learn how to, research how to analyze visual rhetoric, right? So the visuals, maybe you're going to do visual semiotics, so the combination of the image and the text. So maybe you have, okay, Unit 1, you're going to use the skills you're learning to analyze a picture book. Okay, you're going to write a short paper analyzing a picture book, how the words and pictures work together to create meaning for the reader, etc. But then in Unit 2, okay, you got your, some basics under your belt. Now we're doing some more complex analysis potentially. We're going to read this graphic novel, and you're going to write, again, maybe a paper where you're analyzing this graphic novel. And so now, yes, it's similar skills, but graphic novels tend to be more complex than picture books. And so now they're having to use more of their skills. They're going to have to really dive deeper into it in order to analyze this graphic novel. And then in Unit 3, potentially you're going to add another mode of communication. So not just how words and images play together, but maybe they're going to analyze a movie. And they're going to add the audio component to it as well, and that movement component to it. And so now we're going to analyze a movie for your final paper. So in that case, it's more skills versus, you don't have like paper, paper, paper. They don't build to each other. It's not a long paper about a picture book, a graphic novel, and a movie. No, it's separate units, but it's building skills throughout. So that's another approach you can take when scaffolding. And the final approach you can take is knowledge scaffolding. So not so much the skills of analysis, for example, but more, okay, you learned this terminology early on, and then we built on that terminology to learn this new terminology, and you built on that as well. Or we had a simple approach to studying this concept, but now we're going to take a more in-depth look, and then even more in-depth look by the end of the term. So in this case, the assignment might be the same each time. You're having them write 3 papers of various lengths, but it could also be different. So maybe in Unit 1, you want them to write a paper kind of just showing that they're understanding the concept, right? At least the basics of the concept. But then Unit 2, maybe, okay, they're learning more about this concept, and you want them to go out and interview someone tied to the field. And then they're going to actually record a podcast episode where they're doing this interview and they're showing that they have knowledge because they're asking really great questions and responding to the answers from this expert. And then in the third unit, they're going to create an educational video. So they're going to choose a target audience and they're going to teach that audience about something that they've learned throughout this whole term. Like, hey, here's what this concept is all about. Here's some basic information. Here's going more in depth. And so they're going to actually teach somebody the concept, right? Proving the knowledge they've gained throughout the term. So it depends on your preference here in assignment design, but the scaffolding itself is, okay, here is some basic information early on, and then we build and we build and we build and we build, and by the end, you have a really strong grasp of this concept. So that's 3 ways of potentially scaffolding in your class. So as a repeat, you're scaffolding the actual product itself, or you might be scaffolding the skills they're learning, or you're scaffolding just knowledge. So maybe it's not so much they're going to be doing a lot of skills, it's just an introductory course for a longer series of courses where the first step is really understanding terminology, key terms, concepts, etc. So it depends on where you're at potentially in the series of courses, which one you might prefer. And of course you can combine as well, right? It's not like it's only one or the other. It might be that we're going to go ahead and gain skills in analysis, literary analysis, and the first thing we're going to do is a short paper, and then you're going to actually build on that paper for unit 2, and then for unit 3, build on it even more. So maybe you do have that aspect of having the same product across, but you're adding more and more skills, more and more knowledge as you go along. So it depends again on your personal preference, but here's some ideas about scaffolding in your classroom. If you found it helpful, click like and let me know. Subscribe if you haven't yet so you don't miss out on future videos. And of course, you can comment below with your own thoughts on scaffolding in the classroom.